Hello, how's it going? Good, grand, great, fantastic, and welcome to my review of episodes 1 and 2 of Velma. Not Scooby-Doo. There's no Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Where are you in this? Scooby's out. It is Velma at high school. You have Fred, Daphne, and Shaggy's gone, and you've got somebody called Norville. I had to double check whilst doing this review because I'd completely forgotten the name of the character, because that's how forgettable non-Shaggy Norville is in this. I do not care about the race swapping that they've done in this, because they've swapped out 3 characters. Obviously Sam Richardson as Norville, Velma, Mindy Kaling is Velma, and Constant Wu, serial complainer who's never satisfied or happy about anything, Constant Wu is playing Daphne in this. So Daphne is a kind of red-headed Asian in it. Norville is a black guy and Velma is Asian. And Fred, Glenn Howerton as Fred, who plays Captain White Privilege in this, or Fred. And look, I found the premise interesting when they first kind of announced it. So, like I said, Scooby-Doo is over like 50 years old now. So if you want to make changes to the cast and the characters, I think there's enough background there to kind of play fun and loose with the premise. I mean, my God, if you read the comic book Scooby-Doo Apocalypse, where we took this gang of 60s, 70s teens and turned them into hipsters of the 2010s, and yet it's the best fucking Scooby-Doo thing since the original series way back when, before Scrappy-Doo came along. Okay, so if you haven't read it, go read Scooby-Doo Apocalypse, the comic book. 10 out of 10. I wish they would make a film or series based off of that comic. Nobody would ever look back at Scooby-Doo gang again or want the original iteration. They'd want the Apocalypse iteration because they were hilarious. And just the violence and the gore and the just solid storyline. Unfortunately, what we get with Velma is a bunch of crap and badly written crap. Like I said, I'm going to get Norville out of the way, first of all. Completely forgettable. Just feels like a sex pest who's just obsessed with Velma. So let's get him out of the way. Daphne was actually perfectly fine in this. I thought Constant Wu did a great job. I wonder if she'll complain at the end of this about the workload. I don't know. Just taking a dig at her because all she does is complain. But Daphne was actually really good as Daphne. Daphne's perfectly Daphne, the kind of Daphne you'd expect in a high school. She's now one of the popular girls, the beautiful, popular kind and all this kind of shit. Used to be really close friends with Velma, but isn't anymore. And so that friendship's drifted apart, and it plays into this TV show. Fred is white privilege on steroids, and although I love Glenn Howerton, who plays in It's Always Sunny Philadelphia as Dennis. He's just a fantastic actor, just brilliant, so versatile, and again, he shows off just how good he is in this. Just a shame that Fred is basically reduced to little dick jokes and white privilege jokes, which would be fine, but it's overdone, especially when you have an interesting character brewing there. But you've really shot yourself in the foot in the first 2 episodes by relegating him down to this: is he a villain, is he not a villain? Velma, played by Mindy Kaling, who is I'm not a big fan of Mindy Kaling. I don't hate her either. Sometimes she might give a good performance, sometimes she might not. Depends. Like, I liked her in the episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. She was perfectly fine in that. That kind of, sometimes when she delivers that kind of dry humour, it works, and sometimes it doesn't. But I was still intrigued to see what she'll do with Velma. Sadly, Velma, the series, suffers from... We'll get into that. So Velma's got an interesting backstory, and I thought that would be good enough to kind of carry the show. It still could, but I very much doubt it, because from what I've seen, from the reviews I've already read of the first 8 episodes, no. But she gets into these panic attacks that are kind of portrayed as like, well, her mother's gone missing, she disappeared when she was a kid, and that kind of is what spurred her to be. No, that's a lie. She was always very investigative because her mother kind of nurtured that talent in her to investigate things and look for clues and all this kind of stuff. And so obviously when her mother disappeared, it becomes this thing that every time she tries to investigate her mother's disappearance, she has this huge panic attack, and it kind of transforms into like this beast as like a monster of her mother, and just like it embeds itself in her and causes her to have a panic attack or huge heart palpitations. And Norville kind of figures a way to break her out of it by making her laugh in a really badly delivered jokes about how much he really likes her, and she just finds that hilarious. Daphne tries the same, that doesn't work, so try something else later. But that's the thing, that's the interesting thing with her, is these panic attacks she has when she goes tries to investigate. That being said, my biggest gripe with the show is too many meta jokes. Too much breaking of the fourth wall, and too much pointing out how bad the plot, premise, or the joke is going to be ahead of it coming or just after it's been delivered. And I'm sorry, but we had this in She-Hulk and it really shit the bed. And we had this in Paradise PD, which constantly did it. And like, it was like Paradise PD, the first series was funny when it started, but after that it just degenerated into like gay sex jokes and everyone eats ass and dick and a lot of fecal jokes and all this, and it's just like, why? What are you, 12 years old? And this is what this show feels like. It feels like it's been written by a 12-year-old. Like I said, Fred, a bunch of little dick jokes. We find out like Velma's a lesbian early on. That's fine, not a problem. And that's really it. Like, the plot is, I haven't even got to the plot yet, I'm 8 minutes in. But the plot is, a girl is found murdered in Velma's locker room. She's accused of it, and the cops give her 24 hours to solve the murder, or to at least prove her innocence. And a bunch of clues lead her to Fred's family, especially after a second girl's found murdered. And then, we have this whole thing break out, and she's trying to fight with her anxiety. Every time she tries to investigate things, it's like that mental block there because of what happened to her mother. And so, yeah, there's all this kind of stuff, and I forget the most of it, but it's just because it's really badly written. Like, just focus on doing a show that's Velma investigating things, and she eventually ropes in the other four. There's nothing wrong with taking something in a new direction after being established for so long. There's only so much of Scooby-Doo you could do. That rhymes. There's sometimes change is good. It's when you do change changes to something that haven't had a chance to breathe in a new medium, that's what gets frustrating. But with Scooby-Doo, fuck me, you can set the whole thing in like the Middle East and have completely Middle Eastern characters. It's Scooby-Doo, but in a different setting. So that kind of fun play into the new setting kind of could work. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't write it so badly. Don't make the jokes so bad. And the constant breaking of the fourth wall and the meta jokes and pointing out your own bad jokes, it distracts me. Like, I can't even explain to you the rest of the show because I just got so distracted by that. Anyway, I don't recommend you watching this. 1 out of 10 for Glenn Howerton. The rest is, garbage. So save yourself 22 minutes per episode and watch paint dry instead. Anyway, that's all. Let normality resume. Bye.